You hear it everywhere, right? AI is going to completely transform the supply chain. But let's be honest, turning that hype into actual bottom line results, that's where things get tricky. This isn't about just buying some cool new software. It's about having a smart strategy. So let's walk through exactly what that roadmap to success looks like.
But first, let's start with a little dose of reality. Because despite all the excitement and all the money being poured into this space, there's this number we have to talk about. That's right. A staggering 80% of AI projects in business just don't deliver the value they promised. So what's going wrong here? Well, a lot of the time it's because they're solving the wrong problem, or they're overestimating what the tech can actually do. Using a super complex AI for a problem that a simple spreadsheet could have fixed. So the big question is, how do you make sure you're in that successful 20%? And the good news is, it's not about having the biggest budget or being a coding genius. It's about having the right plan. And that's exactly what we're going to build, step by step, right now. Okay, so before we jump into building the roadmap, we've got to get really honest about what we're dealing with. Understanding what AI is truly amazing at, and maybe even more importantly, what it's not, that's step one. Just take a look at this. On the left, you've got the superpowers of AI. It can chew through mountains of data to find patterns we'd never see. It can optimize incredibly complex networks, and it's fantastic at automating boring, routine tasks. But, and this is a big but, look at the right side. AI doesn't understand things in the way we do. It has zero common sense, and often it's a black box, meaning it can't really explain why it made a certain decision. The big takeaway here, AI is not a replacement for human intelligence. It's a collaborator that amplifies it. All right, now that we're clear on the what, let's talk about the how. And here's something that might surprise you. Success with AI doesn't actually start with technology. Nope, it starts with your people and your data. If you get these two things right, you are already way ahead of the game. I mean, just let that sink in. You could have the most brilliant algorithm ever created, but if your teams aren't ready to trust it, to use it, to make decisions, and to change how they work, you're going to land right back in that 80% failure pile. The culture part is everything. So what does this digital mindset actually look like? Does everybody on your team need to become a data scientist? Thank goodness, no. Think of it like this with the 30% rule. You really only need to understand about 30% of how an AI tool works. That's the blue part here, to be able to work effectively with the technical experts. You just need to know enough to ask the right questions and connect what the algorithm is telling you to a real business problem. Okay, that's the people side. Now for the other half of our foundation, the data. We've all heard that old saying, garbage in, garbage out, right? Well, with AI, it's more like garbage in, garbage amplified out. Bad data doesn't just give you a bad answer. It creates systematically wrong decisions that can spread like a virus through your entire supply chain. Now, I know building a data foundation can feel like this massive, scary project, but it doesn't have to be. You can break it down into these 4 steps. You start by just auditing what you've got. Then you work on integrating it. Governance is huge. You need to know who owns the data quality. But honestly, the most important point here is number 4. You do not need perfect data to get started. Just start with what you have for your first project and make it better as you go. All right, foundation is set. We've got our mindset right. We're thinking about our data. Now let's get to the main event, actually building your AI roadmap step by step. Okay, if you remember just one thing from this entire explainer, please make it this. So many leaders get this wrong. They hear about a cool new AI tool, they buy it, and then they try to find a problem for it to solve. That is 100% backward. You have to start with a real business problem you're trying to fix. So you've got this big fuzzy business problem. How do you make it, well, solvable? You make it smart. This framework is a lifesaver. It helps you turn a vague idea like, we need to improve logistics, into something crystal clear, like, reduce our expedited freight costs by 15% in the next 9 months. See the difference? Now you have a real target to aim for. So you've got your goal, but where do you even look for the root cause of the problem? This is where AI tools give you superpowers. Process mining on the left is like an X-ray for your big systems, your ERP, your warehouse management system. It shows you how work is really flowing through them. But so much work happens between those systems, right? In spreadsheets, in emails. That's where task mining comes in. It shows you all the manual, repetitive stuff that's slowing things down. You really need both to see the whole picture. So let's put it all together. This is it. This is your 4-step roadmap. It's a simple loop you can use for any project. Step 1. What's the business need? Our logistics costs are through the roof. Step 2, what's our smart objective? Let's cut those costs by 10% in a year. Step 3, what AI capability can help? Well, process mining could show us where the delays are. And finally, step 4, we prioritize this idea against everything else we want to do.
And how do you prioritize? With a simple value versus complexity matrix, just like this one. You plot your ideas on the grid. That logistics project we just talked about, that's high value, pretty low complexity. That's a quick win. You start there to build momentum and get people excited. Building a full-blown digital twin, super high value, but also really complex. That's a strategic priority for down the road. This one simple chart gives you so much clarity on where to focus your energy. A roadmap is great, but a plan on a PowerPoint slide is just, well, a plan on a PowerPoint slide. Now you have to actually do it. And when it comes to AI, the old school, rigid way of managing projects just won't cut it. You have to be agile. Thinking agile is really a mindset. It means you start small with one of those quick wins we talked about. You build a quick and dirty prototype to see if your idea even works. You can't be afraid to fail as long as you learn something from it. And maybe most important of all, you have to get the actual end users involved from day one. This stops you from building a technically perfect tool that nobody actually wants to use. Okay, last big piece of the puzzle. You've launched your first project, you've built a prototype, is out there. Now what? How do you know if it's actually working? How do you prove its value? This is a huge stumbling block for a lot of teams. Here's the trap. Your CFO is going to ask, what's the ROI? And that's a totally fair question. But with AI, a lot of the benefits, like making better decisions or just having cleaner data, don't show up as a hard dollar saving right away. If you only measure it with a classic ROI formula, you're going to miss the real story, and your leadership might kill the project too soon. So what's the answer? It's a balanced scorecard. Instead of focusing on just one number, you track a mix of KPIs across different categories. So for a demand planning project, yeah, you absolutely track the financial stuff, like reducing inventory costs. But you also track the operational impact, like how much your forecast accuracy improved. And you track the strategic value, like are we now better at sensing shifts in the market? This gives everyone a complete, honest picture of the true value you're creating. And that really brings us full circle. We've gone through the whole roadmap, from getting the mindset right and building a solid data foundation, all the way to creating a smart problem-first plan. And ultimately, your entire AI journey, your chance to be in that successful 20%, it really just boils down to this one choice. Will you start with a shiny new tool, or will you start with a real, meaningful problem? The answer to that question changes everything.